Happy Wednesday afternoon, everybody. Welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios here in lovely downtown Dallas. It's time for the All Horned Frogs podcast on the ALLCITY Network's cavalcade of lineup of podcasts. Good stuff here. Hit the like button, subscribe, participate in the chat. Let's get some comments going. Try to read them throughout the show as long as they're clean. Let's keep it clean out there, which probably is going to be a little bit harder to do after Saturday if you're a Frogs fan, but keep it clean. Joining the show today, Frogs fan and our GM, Ben Rebstock, a season ticket holder and a graduate. He's gonna rehash all the wounds and pain that he suffered Saturday watching the game. And then Jamie Plunkett will close out the show. And then in the middle, our star guest of the show is defensive end and Fort Worth native Nana Osafo-Mensah. That's a mouthful. He's a heck of a kid. Great story. We're looking forward to getting to know him a little bit. But first, we are going to go back before Ben gets on here and cries in his beers. We're gonna go back and look at Saturday, the Battle of the Iron Skillet, which really wasn't much of a battle. Where do we want to start with this one? It was a disaster from the beginning. SMU, the final score was 66-42, an unfathomable score if you're a TCU fan. Sonny Dykes said afterwards that he just didn't see this coming, which is interesting. But anyway, the Mustangs recorded a fumble TV. They returned a punt for a TD, and they returned an interception for a TD in the first half. This wasn't just throughout the game. They went ahead and got it all out of the way early on. They led 17-0 before the Frogs really even got going. It wasn't like the Mustangs were an offensive juggernaut in the first half, but man, they were physical. They just outplayed the Frogs. There's nothing more you can say about that. And then, to add insult to injury in the third quarter, they sacked Josh Hoover. He fumbled, and the ball was recovered at the 1. So they had a 1-yard TD scoring drive. So really, you could credit 28 points that were not scored by the offense if you want to look at it that way. But either way, it's a kick in the shorts, and it's no wonder that Sonny Dykes was running hot. You guys all know he was ejected in the third quarter, becoming only the second FBS coach to ever be ejected. To get ejected, you have to receive 2 unsportsmanlike flags. He got him back to back. One he said he deserved. The other one he said he did not deserve. I think the ref who threw that flag just wanted to be on TV. Not even Woody Hayes, the old Ohio State coach, got ejected when he punched that poor Clemson player 1,000 years ago. So this tells you kind of how unprecedented it is what happened to Sonny Dykes. But the frustrations were pretty obvious. He was arguing about a holding call. It seemed like all the flags were going the wrong way, and then I'm sure the SMU crowd got a heck of a rise out of that, seeing their former coach walk off, and then watch the team that he coaches that he left SMU for get their tails kicked in. But the 2 biggest issues, the Dykes ejection was not one of them. The 2 biggest issues are nothing new. It's a pattern this season. It's an inability to run the ball on offense, and then an inability to stop the run on defense, and that has surfaced in the last 6 quarters. The Frogs have only 354 rushing yards this year. That's less than 60 yards a game. This is the university that produced LaDainian Tomlinson and other great running backs that are in the NFL right now. It's just mind-blowing that's where they are. Their inability to run cost them the UCF game, quite frankly, 2 weeks ago. And it's just putting too much of a burden on Josh Hoover. He finally cracked against SMU, throwing 2 interceptions. He also fumbled twice, one early on a 4th down play as he sneaked it for a first down, ball got knocked loose, got returned 51 yards for a score, and then the other one was on that sack that I referenced earlier when SMU recovered it at the 1. So how do you fix this ground game? You just keep practicing, I guess, but it's kind of like the definition of insanity. Hopefully, they're practicing new things, and maybe Hoover's finally feeling some pressure, having to carry the offense. Maybe that's why he forced some throws, because and SMU was able to just rush him relentlessly because they knew that TCU had to throw to win the game, to score. And they were so far behind. That's another factor. And that was it. I mean, you always go into halftime with a faint glimmer of hope, hoping that there can be some adjustments made, hoping that put the fluke behind them. Those 3 scoring plays that were non-offensive touchdowns. But then, the TCU defense has some things to get addressed. They didn't really slow the Mustangs down much in the second half. TCU was allowed nearly 600 yards rushing in the past 2 games, which frankly is just not going to cut it. It's a startling number, especially when you look back at the Gary Patterson era and those teams that were built on defense. Andy Avalos in his first year as defensive coordinator, and then the 4-3 defense has just really struggled. And sometimes it looks like a 3-4. Maybe he's trying to mix up looks. Whatever it is, it's not working. A lot of these runs, it's not just 3 yards in a cloud of dust. It's chunk plays. A lot of them are coming on 3rd and long. When teams are just trying to maybe get into better field goal range. Well, they're turning into first downs and touchdowns instead of getting the defense off the field. So it's not great. It's not great. And the bad news is that Kansas, TCU's opponent, at 2:30 p.m. Saturday at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, runs the heck out of the ball. Their quarterback is Jalen Daniels. He runs the ball just pretty much like Kevin Jennings, the SMU quarterback. Probably not as good as KJ Jefferson, the UCF quarterback, but he is a running quarterback. And look, if the first 2 games are any indication, Kansas is probably going to have some success on the ground. Although they're 1-3. They were a preseason top 25 team, and they won their opener against some lame team, not Long Island like TCU, but another team that wasn't Leatherwood or something like that. Anyway, they've lost 3 straight. They lost at West Virginia, where it's a tough place to play. They had to endure a long second half delay because of weather. So they're going to be ready to go. This is the 40th time in this series that dates to a 41-6 Frogs victory in Fort Worth in 1942. I'm going to guess that Emory Nix had a big game in that one. The good news, though, if you want to find a silver lining, it's that it wasn't a conference game. The SMU game was not a conference game. TCU still has an opportunity to make noise in the Big 12. And then it can start this week when they return to conference play against Kansas. But it needs to get going real soon. So how do you do that? No defensive players were made available yesterday at the weekly presser with Sonny Dykes and players. The offensive players who were there, Jack Besh was one of them, who's just having such a tremendous year, one of the nation's top receivers. Josh Hoover's one of the top passers. Okay, we got the pass game down pretty good. It could be better running the ball. But what does TCU do to stop the run? Besh and Hoover can help get the run game going on offense. Whether it's better blocking or whatever you want to do. Maybe they let Jack Besh carry the ball. Savion Williams has had success carrying the ball at times in his career. They got to do something to loosen up that defense a little bit. And then the offensive line, Sonny Dykes said, is not set in stone for this week. There's some competition going on. There are guys who just maybe aren't better pass blockers than run blockers. I don't think that comes as a surprise to anybody in this day and age when the passing game has trickled all the way down to the high school level and junior high. These aren't Euless Trinity and the old Southlake teams of the 90s lining up and just beating everybody to death with these big Samoan guys in Ulyss's case, or some kids from the farm in Stephenville, for instance. This is a different game, and run blocking is a lost skill. So hopefully there's a lot of coaching going on, and hopefully this competition will make them better in practice. Sonny Dykes said the practice was great yesterday. It ran long for their Tuesday practice. It actually delayed the start of the press conference. So they're not, they recognize that there's an issue. The problem is getting it fixed and making sure that other teams like Kansas don't have a backup plan to exploit any possible adjustments. I cover baseball, and the adjustments within an at bat, whether you're the pitcher or whether you're the hitter. Look, the Frogs need to be making adjustments within series and figuring out why the heck they're getting gashed like they are. It just wears down the defense. Fortunately, grass in Kansas City, so the turf won't be resonating any heat. It probably won't be terribly hot up there. An interesting note, though, Kansas is actually playing in Missouri, and Missouri, the state of Missouri, is getting benefits from a Kansas taxpayer-funded university. So anyway, that's just another side note. But we're looking forward to some wins. This is after last season. Obviously not the Frogs' best after the run to the national title game. I got my Fiesta Bowl quarter zip down there on the floor in case I get chilly. Trying to keep the good memories going, but it's hard to do when you get whipped by your rival. But you know what? They're going to plow ahead. The Frogs are plowing ahead. They have no other choice. They've got games left on the schedule. They've got 9 of them left, I think. And boy, they got to get it fixed quick, or it's going to be a long season in Fort Worth. So while the Frogs plow ahead, the All City Frogs podcast is going to plow ahead with the aforementioned Ben Rebstock, our GM, and 22 seasons now he's been a season ticket holder over there at TCU. So we want to get his thoughts and see what he's seeing and what he's feeling and what he's seeing other fans feeling. And then we'll check in with Nana Osafu-Mensah and Jamie Plunkett, who's become a regular on our show. But first, I'm going to tell you about Sleeper. Sleeper has become my favorite app. My wife says I'm addicted. I don't think I am, but it's just a fun way to follow a night of sports. I am ahead, which is fortunate. You can make all kinds of bets for all different kinds of money. I do $3 sometimes. The most I've done is 10. So you're not gonna get rid of the rent money. You're gonna be fine. Anyway, Sleeper, for those of you who don't know, it's known for its fantasy stuff, but they're really getting into the daily picks, and the daily picks are just super fun. I'll be honest, Saturday for the TCU game, I did some picks. I did some college football picks overall, but one of the choices was, will Cam Cook, the running back, have more or less than 60.5 rushing yards? I went under because I knew the Frogs are struggling to run the ball. That would have been a winner if the other bets had hit. The one I missed was the Michigan quarterback, the native Texan, Orji, did not throw for more than 115 yards. I thought that was a pretty low bar. And I think he threw for 36 as they went old school to beat USC with a punishing ground game. Good thing the Frogs aren't playing them anytime soon. So anyway, back to Sleeper. There's a flex plan, or you can just bet straight up. The flex gives you opportunity to miss a pick or two and still win a little bit of money. And we have a new code for you, which is pretty exciting. If you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Frogs to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. I got a $100 match on my first deposit. I put in $100, got a $100 match. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states, including the great state of Texas. Check out Sleeper today. And then, since you're going to have all those sweet earnings from Sleeper, you can go to Roback.com. Roback A lot of you know Roback. If you like golf shirts, if you like pullovers, if you like sweet hats with a little dog profile as their logo, Roback is the place for you. They have the best thing about their shirts, in my opinion, is that they're moisture wicking. You know, if it's hot like it is for at least half the time here. I mean, it's hot today, and it's officially fall. If you're out on the golf course or you're out fishing or doing whatever you're doing, maybe you're just at a picnic and you're hot, the shirt's not going to stick to you. But they don't just do shirts; they do pullovers, hoodies, hats. They do joggers. I'm a big believer in the jogger. So here's what you need to do with Roback. Go to roback.com. Check out the spelling. It's RHOBACK.com. It's RHOBACK.com. Enter DLLS 20 for 20% off your first order. Between the Ranger show and this show, I spent 5 minutes buying my first Roback purchase. I bought a black hat, the little white doggy outline. It's going to be awesome, and the code works. All right, DLS 20 works. I can assure you that. So again, it's go to Roback, RHOBACK.com, and do it as soon as you can, because it's cool stuff. All right, coming up next on the show, he's about to wheel in here. It's Ben Rebstock. And you can see Ben has got the TCU shirt on. He's got the TCU cup. It's not full of beer. It's clear. It might be vodka or tequila. But, Ben, what the heck happened?
I haven't bailed completely yet.
Okay, good.
So I still wear my gear and drink out of my cup. I could have changed there. But, it's not ironic on me that as the GM here at DLLS, I have to go through some of the company initiatives and give some of the guidelines and some of the rules and go stuff with all of our shows. And this week, with the Cowboy season, the way it's gone, cleaning up the language a little bit and just reminding our talent to be mindful of some of the words used. I've had to have that meeting a few times, and then you call me in to talk about this game, and just in my head, I've got to remember my own rules.
That's right.
In talking
your
about
feet to the fire here. No 4-letter words. the seven magic words. Right.
We don't talk like that at TCU anyway. So
That's right.
We're good.
That's right.
Good.
Yeah. I remember you saying yesterday, harkening way back to yesterday, that you turned off the game.
I late in the third pulled up my phone. Maybe I was going to do some sleeper picks or something, but my AMC app was there as well, and I looked and saw that Beetlejuice was playing about 20 minutes from now, and I think SMU just scored another 2 or 3 touchdowns. I lost track, and just looked at my daughters and said, "I want to go see a movie," because I could not sit and watch the end of that game anymore. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. And going through, you look at the first half, going through the numbers and stuff, it wasn't the best start in the world. Honestly, you look back at that first drive, and the defense possibly had a turnover that got looked at, and the really, really quick whistle on that one that would have, at least changed the start of the game. And right. We saw what the turnovers did for SMU. It'd been nice to get one or that early for us. But despite going down 17-0, they did fight back, and then it's 24-21. Late in the second, sitting there thinking, hey, we get the ball back first in the second half. Yeah. We can turn this. And then, in a minute 28, they score 17 more points to close out the first half. And you're down 41-21 at halftime. And it's just all going the wrong way, except you come out and you get that nice kickoff return that, again, could have just changed the momentum completely and given you that small glimmer of hope. And then between the holding penalty, that was a hold on that one. We can't lie. There was a hold there. And then the double penalties to Sonny and just everything that could go wrong went wrong from that point on. And it was a brutal, brutal Saturday.
Yeah, we were talking yesterday at the press conference, the weekly deal with Sonny and the players, that, fans are up in arms. And really, if you want to look at it, the Frogs are 7-9 in their last 16 games after going what was it, 13-2,
Yep.
to playing for the national title. If you want to throw that butt kicking in, 7-10. I think there's some unrest. I still think, I know there are still some fans who are Gary Patterson loyalists. Maybe they're old school guys, maybe they're defense guys. But I mean, you've been a season ticket holder since Patterson's second year. You were in college when he took over the job. What are you hearing as your people you're sitting next to are talking, or if you're checking out fan pages?
Nobody's really talking about that change just yet. I think there were some questions with obviously the Bryles hire on the offensive coordinator side that just you don't have to explain that too much to a TCU fan,
right?
But I don't think at least my core group, my season ticket holders are around. We're not at that point yet of cleaning house and starting all over, because in this world of just so much change in college football on a daily basis, you see what's going on at UNLV right now today, that just the thought of starting all over is pretty terrifying for any program.
Right.
And you do look at the upcoming recruiting class that's coming in, and Sonny has done a really solid job with the guys coming in next season. That I don't want to overreact to a couple games here right now. Changes in there. You do have the Patterson loyalists. I'm a Patterson loyalist. I loved everything he did there. But you also have to remember and go back and look at those last couple seasons that defensive scheme had been caught on. People figured that out.
Yeah.
And we see the defensive struggles that we're having right now. Going back to that isn't the answer either. I still think we need a little time for this to get figured out and worked. It's funny being a TCU and a Cowboys fan. It's like these two teams are mirror images of each other, because neither team can stop the run right now, despite having really good talent on that side of the ball.
Sure.
I think it's a matter of just figuring this out a little bit, not panicking. I look at the standings in the Big 12, and this is, outside of Utah, the parity in the conference is there. And now that with the 12-team playoff, the last thing any of us need to do is overreact to a couple losses at the moment, because you are still in the mix for this. Your Kansas State has lost, Oklahoma State lost. Kansas was top 25. They're 0-1, in the conference, and there's just nobody running away with this thing at the moment. So it hurts losing the way we did to UCF. It really hurts losing to your rival the way we lost this last week. But, that UCF game, that first half, we dominated that whole first half.
Yeah, for sure.
And then something got figured out that did carry over into the SMU game. Now it's our job to figure out how to stop that and get right back on track. And it can happen this week. You win this game at Kansas, it changes everything, right? The vibes are back. The vibes are good. And I'm glad this game's even played at Arrowhead, because Kansas has been a tricky road game for us the last several years.
That's the truth.
So us not playing in Lawrence is actually I'm happy about that. So maybe it's a bit more. We get back to what we're doing and can figure this out a little bit. Get a win at Arrowhead, and I feel a lot better about the season.
Yeah, I was at the 22 game, my first time in Lawrence, and college game day was there because they had started 4-0. And there was a big, level of excitement there. And TCU ended up winning the game. They knocked Jalen Daniels out of the game, which actually I think hurt them because the backup from North Texas, the transfer from North Texas, Beck, came in and had a really nice game. But the Frogs made a play at the end of the game, ended up winning. Obviously, that was during their terrific 12-0 regular season run. But you're right, though. You can remember the Trayvon Boykin year, having to return a punt to win there late. Just some really tough times there. But it'll be interesting to see how if Kansas sticks to its guns. I mean, I don't think they have a lot of options offensively other than just running the ball. And why would you want one? I mean, if you've watched TCU the last 2 weeks and you run the ball as much as they do, they're going to have a lot of different things that are going to potentially play havoc on TCU and maybe even trump the adjustments that the Frogs have maybe made this week.
Yeah, this is if anything, this is one of those games where, and I wish we had done it last week with a young quarterback with SMU. You sell out to stop the run.
Yeah.
And if they beat you through the air, they beat you through the air. But you know what Kansas wants to line up and do. You know how they play. This is where you go overcommit to stopping the run, and if you get beat over the top, you get beat by the pass. That just happens. But you can't go into this game approaching it like we have the last 3 halves of football, because that's not going to work against Kansas.
Yeah. I guess if we look for bright spots, I mean, Jack Besh and Josh Hoover have been terrific. I know Hoover had the 4 turnovers against SMU.
McAllister had 100 yards.
Yeah, McAllister had a big game. Savion Williams is kind of didn't have a great game Saturday. He had the 2 touchdown catches against UCF. Didn't really have big yardage that game, but I mean, I think that if you're Kendall Briles, to get the run game going, you got to trick it up. Run reverses, wildcat. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Bring back the wishbone. I don't care. Whatever you got to do, get the ball moving on the ground like
yes.
TCU needs to.
You look back at like the Baylor years with Briles, they were everybody talked about how they spread the ball, but they were a very run-first team, and they were very creative with the run, and we're just not seeing that at all right now. And yes, have fun, lots of motion. Never know who's going to get that ball coming out of the backfield, but really commit to it. And this is you got nothing to lose right now. You might as well have a little fun with that. The passing game's fine. The Hoover's throwing. The first half was a little shaky. But he's throwing the ball with a lot of confidence this season, much more confidence than we saw last year. He looks like he's controlling everything. He looks like a real good, solid college quarterback. And, only almost those for 400 yards this last week. Had to, but based on how the game was. But still threw that much. And the receivers are good. And if you can just bring that running game up to where it doesn't look – the defense knows what you're going to do right now when you're lining up to run the ball. If you get it out there, get creative, have some fun with it, it could spark this offense.
All right. Well,
are we not going to talk about, because I see Tanner, our producer, does not have a microphone, so he can't defend himself. Are we not going to talk about the end of the Colorado Baylor game?
We're going to talk about that with Jamie. We're going to talk about that with Jamie Plunkett.
Okay, as long as it's covered.
I do think that's their worst loss since their UNLV loss with Kevin Steele as the coach, and they're boy, what a.
I need to feel something today, and talking about that will make me feel a lot better. Sorry, Tanner, you'll get a microphone.
So we've got Nana lined up here. Mark Cohen sent me this. We want to get the official pronunciation, because I don't want to mess this up.
Nana Osafa Mensa.
See, I've been nailing it all along.
You got it. You nailed that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been killing it. I thought maybe he was listening and I screwed up or something. I don't want to make either one of them mad, but especially not the
Christian in the chat. By the way, we are working on an SMU, so just hang around, keep joining us here, have some fun. But yes, that is on the radar.
And Christian, you can get an SMU shirt.
You can
a DLS SMU shirt. So that's. We don't make T-shirts unless we have plans for shows. So
that's right.
Anyway, hang in there. All right, Ben. It is time to get Nana on.
Have me back on after a win one time.
Okay. Well, you're pretty good after a loss. Okay. I mean, you've only been on once.
All right. Well.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Ben Redstock.
Thank you.
GM, my boss. So I got to keep him happy. All right. And I also got to keep our advertisers happy. So let me tell you, before we get to Nana, about Empire Today. Empire Today, if you've lived in this area for any length of time, you know Empire Today is the leading carpet and flooring store in the area. They have the familiar jingle that's probably playing through your head right now. With Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. All right, think Empire. It's the best place to get new flooring. There are copycats out there, but stick with Empire. Empire is the best. They can't be beaten on quality, service, or speed. Just you got to trust us on this one. And like I said, they keep it simple. They have a virtual floor designer, so you can just kind of take a picture of your get your phone out and scan the area, put in what floors you want, and all of a sudden, boom, it's right there on your phone. And you don't have to go into the store, which is beautiful. It can be frustrating or intimidating when you get in there, but Empire prides themselves on their current shop-at-home service. They help customers shop for floors, and it'll match their home's lighting and decor. It's like full-service stuff, and they service their own warranty, so that's a big deal. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/DLLS for details. And so you're going to save all that money. You might as well go to a concert. Go see a ball game. And Game Time is the app you need to make sure that you're getting your best ticket value and the best seats imaginable with the best views and all that stuff. Game Time has an app, and you can see kind of the graphics up there if you're watching. Go ahead and download that now. All right, let's not mess around. Get it downloaded right now. And like Abby Jones, who does the Ranger show with me, she lives right by the AAC here, and she has on multiple occasions just seen what the buzz is going on outside, see what everybody's doing when it's not basketball or hockey season. So she checks out, and it might be a concert she wants to go see, and she has done that multiple times. I'm now with kids wanting to go see musical acts and all that stuff. Well, I've got to have that on my radar too. All right. Game Time picks. Curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, all-in pricing, which I think is a huge deal. Toggling this feature shows you the upfront total with no surprise fees at checkout. You can get a panoramic view of your seat view, and it's the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. That's pretty good. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, coming up on the show is Frog's defensive lineman, defensive end. There he is, Nana Osafo-Mensah. Nana, can you hear us, and how are you doing?
Yes, sir, I can hear you. I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Hey, before we get into anything, I got to tell you something. Your old football coach, David Bowden, told me to tell you hello and that he loves you, and he hopes you're doing great.
Nah,
He
that's
also
what's
told-
up. I got a lot of love for Coach Bowden. That's my guy.
He is, I got to know him in 2022 working with him on some TCU stuff, and God, he's funny. He's a loyal friend. I can't say enough nice things about him. So we're going to save all the bad stuff for the end here, okay? But he was your coach at Nolan High School. So you've come back home after spending some time at Notre Dame. What does it mean to be playing at home in front of your family?
It really means everything for me. I mean, I've always wanted the opportunity to play at TCU. I wasn't recruited by them or had an offer from them coming out of high school. So now that I was able to get into the portal and come back and play in Fort Worth, honestly, I just love every opportunity I get, from anytime I have to go in the facility for practice, rehab, or even the games itself. But just being able to have my whole family back here in Fort Worth and being able to play in front of friends and family that always have supported me throughout my high school journey, and even like fans I had in high school are now reaching out to me and getting opportunities to come out and see me play just as they were at Nolan and everything, and me being at Notre Dame, it's going to be a whole lot harder to travel a whole way up there to the Midwest to come see a game. So now that I'm able to have like anybody from old faculty members, old teachers I had, or even just old coaches come by, see me at games, text me that they're watching me, just is really a really surreal feeling that I'm really grateful for.
Okay, so you've had 2 home games at TCU. Do you have an estimate of how many people came to watch you play?
To be honest, I'm not even sure. Like, when it comes to guessing the numbers of a stadium, I've never been the best at it, but I know it was packed and it was loud, so that's all that really matters to me.
Yeah. If you hadn't gone to Nolan, where would you have gone to a public school? What high school would you have gone to?
I would have went to Benbrook High School because I lived in Benbrook for a little bit during my high school years, and then ended up moving a little bit more out west in Fort Worth, which I think I'm still in the Benbrook district, or maybe I might be in the Alito district. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, Alito keeps growing, but they still just have the one high school. Seems like all the high schools are popping up around them, but they want to stay a powerhouse. So, so what has the transfer portal experience been like for you? Was it easy to do? I mean, I'm guessing might have been tough to leave South Bend.
Honestly, it was tough. Just like leaving the guys up there and leaving the team, and even the friends, and honestly the community. Being up there for 5 years and not having a lot of opportunity to go home definitely gave me the chance to just basically make South Bend my new home. And I was able to do that from making friends with people that even lived there. So I was really connected and plugged into the community as a whole and not just people at Notre Dame. And the relationships I made with my teammates and classmates from all over the world that came to Notre Dame are some of the most honorable and cherished friendships I have and relationships I have nowadays. And, it was tough at first just being able to say bye to all of that and all that life I had grown over there because it really was a changing feeling. But to have the opportunity to basically move everything that I've been doing up there in terms of just building relationships, networking, and enjoying the time playing football, being able to do it in Fort Worth has been honestly amazing for me. And it's an opportunity and it's been an experience that I don't think I ever would have truly imagined, and even sometimes wonder like what would life have been like if I decided to come to TCU straight out of high school and not going to South Bend for 5 years.
Yeah, I went out of state. I'm from Colorado. I went to TCU. It makes a difference. You got to grow up. You think you have it all figured out, and then you're out on your own, and you have, hey, I got to go do my laundry, or I gotta find some. I can't get my mom to go to the grocery store. I got to go do that myself. So yeah, I don't want to tell people, young kids, absolutely positively go out of state. You got to do what's best for you and your family, but it'll grow you up pretty quick. And then, so good for you. You're pretty much all wrapped up your education, right? I mean, you got your degrees. Did you get your graduate degree at Notre Dame also?
I did. I was able to get my undergrad in political science, and I double minored in sociology and business economics, and then I got a master's in business management. But now I'm pursuing my healthcare certification here during the off season and the first, our fall season really. But then I'm planning on being able to come back whenever football is done and basically finish my MBA as well through TCU.
My gosh, I mean, that says a lot. Has it been tough? Has it been tough to manage the time?
Honestly, I think on the outside, it can always be viewed as definitely a very just treacherous and tiresome objective, basically being able to manage football and education. And it sure is. I mean, I remember my days at Notre Dame, we were taking sometimes up to 18 hours while still being in the fall season. And it is tough. But at the same time, just like Notre Dame, TCU instills a whole lot of tools that athletes can use in order to be successful. I mean, you have tutors that can basically help you in any class. We have one of the utmost, most respected, just academic advisors that are always willing to show us love and help us get through what we have. I mean, you even sometimes will see them out of practice, just kind of supporting us in the field just as much as they're supporting us off the field. And when it comes to basically people wondering about that balance of just education and athletics, it really just comes down to the person itself and how much you're willing to really devote the time to manage your time wisely and basically just always know when to prioritize what and what's important in the moment versus if you just wait to the last minute and procrastinate, then you're going to find yourself struggling a whole lot.
All right. I'm going to guess that you guys as a defense have been in the classroom this week.
For sure.
Trying to figure out how to slow down opponent's running game. What do you think is the key here to slowing down a Kansas team that really loves to run the ball?
I mean, the biggest thing about the Kansas football team and all the tools that they have is really just they have to go against a defense that's going to be extremely disciplined at the end of the day. I mean, you have great guys up front when they're O-line. They have a quarterback with mad speed, being able to run the option basically wherever you want, pitch off of both arms. You have explosive receivers. You have a dynamic back. So when it comes to playing a team like that, it's all about how disciplined are you going to be on the defensive side of the ball because although they can have a lot of misdirections, a lot of motions, a lot of just different types of plays where they could honestly be running one play to one side of the field and another play to the other side. So we've just been basically constantly reminding each other that we have to play your 1 of 11 part. Nobody can be out there trying to be a superhero. Nobody can be out there trying to do something that they're not supposed to be doing, even if they think they have the confidence to go make the play. It's all about 1 of 11 has to go out there and just know what their job is and do their job and just trust in the process because eventually players are just going to come to you if you stay in your gap, stay in your responsibility, and just proceed as the defense is called.
I'm guessing after a game or two like this that you can't wait to get back on the field. Is everybody still excited about the opportunities that lie ahead?
Yeah, everybody's super excited. I mean, that's the one thing I love about TCU is that even in the times of our losses and even in the times of our wins, we always come back to the film room and we coach each other hard, not just from coach to player relationships, but even like player to player or even within yourself. I mean, the guys out here are always hungry and wanting to find out what they can do to make themselves better. So from going through a loss at the last couple minutes of the game like UCF into a game that was pretty ugly like SMU. I mean, guys still believe in themselves, and our coaches still believe in us, and we believe our fans still believe in us. It's up to us now to really just go out there and get this Big 12 conference play truly started. I mean, the UCF loss was tough, but at the same time, the Big 12 conference championship sometimes ends up having a team with 1 or 2 losses in it. So now being able to go on the road and play Kansas, which is going to be a tough game, but being in an environment like the Kansas City Chiefs Stadium is going to be legit for us. So we're just excited to basically go out there, display what we can do, and just really take off this season the right way we wanted to. I mean, 2-2 early on in the season. So
what you're saying, it sounds like there's really good chemistry, which in this day and age of the transfer portal with guys coming in, it sounds like it's something that has to bond quickly. So how did you guys bond as quickly as you have to trust one another and trust that things are going to get better?
Honestly, I would definitely credit a lot of our team chemistry and our team closeness to our strength coach, Coach Kaz, and all the guys that work underneath him. I mean, when you're going through a summer with a guy that intense, that puts you through workouts, that really has you questioning your will and questioning your love for the game, you just are constantly reminded that, hey, at the end of the day, no matter where somebody came from, we're all in the same shirts, we're all in the same shorts and shoes, on the same turf in this moment, bleeding, sweating, crying together. And that's the team that we're going to have to ride with into this fall season. So it gets to a point where guys realize, like, hey, this is all we got. This is what we're going to be able to ride with. And our coaches believe that this is the team that can do it. Our coaches believe that these are the guys that are all together. So let's just all buy in and take it as far as we can, especially through everything we've been through.
Now you've played a lot of football. I mean, you're new to TCU, but you're not new to college football. What is there an experience you had at Notre Dame, a loss that to a rival maybe, or it seems like everybody's Notre Dame's rival, but a loss to a rival that you had to come back 5-6 days later and be ready to play?
Oh, for sure. I mean, especially like in my time really truly being on the field, like I would say, like when we lost to Marshall in 2023, I mean, that was one of the craziest losses I've ever had in my college experience. Just like a team coming in there, like a team that we definitely should have been able to beat, but we lost that. And then there was Ohio State where we lost in the last play of the game.
Oh, man, I remember that. Yeah.
Exactly. And then Stanford in 2022 was another game where that was a big rival for us, and we had no reason to be losing that game. But sometimes the lack of execution just ends up going the wrong way. So to end the day, I mean, it always sucks to lose. Like, I hate losing more than I enjoy winning. I can tell you that 100%. So whenever there's a loss like this, especially 2 back-to-back, it really is just going to make you tap into a different side of yourself, to a way to where you're going to have to go back and not just look at what you did wrong in the game, but even looking back at your own life and to see, like, hey, what can I do to do my 1 of 11 part to come back and make sure that we don't have to suffer something like this again.
All right, so after this year, you're finally out of eligibility. Mm-hmm. You're going to give I'm assuming you're going to pursue professional football and go as far as that'll take you?
100%, yeah. So I'm just hoping to really just ball as much as I can this season and just see what God has in store for me.
Well, I think he has good things in store for you, whether it's on the football field or whether it's running a business or shoot politics. He said you got a political science degree. Hey, it's election year. Maybe you need to watch and learn and do what these guys don't do. Do the opposite. And get public office and get out there, represent Fort Worth, represent the state. Seems like you got a lot of bright future there, my friend.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, even with David Bowden's influence, you've got a bright future. So
yes, sir. No, thank you.
All right, man. Well, take care. Good luck this week at Kansas, and good luck the rest of the season. We'd love to have you back on later in the year.
Thank you. I appreciate this heavily.
Okay, thank you very much. That was Nana Osafo-Mensah. What a well-spoken lad, probably smarter than anybody in this building, I'm going to guess. Pretty awesome. That was fun. And that's what you get when you follow DLLS Sports, when you follow the ALLCITY network, when you follow the All Horned Frogs podcast. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, and then while you're at it, become a diehard. That's right. Our membership, if you will, a subscription, if you will, is called Die Hard membership. What it is it's $79.99 a year. You get access to all of our content free or behind the paywall. And we don't just cover TCU or the Rangers, which I do. We cover the Big Four. We cover the Mavs. We cover the Stars. And, of course, we cover the Cowboys. Cover them endlessly. which is what you get in the market. But the price point at $79.99 is cheaper than the Fort Worth newspaper, which really isn't a newspaper anymore. And then it's cheaper than the Dallas newspaper. Don't believe me? Do the math. They might say $1 a month for 6 months, but watch the back end of that. It's going to run you up more than $79.99. Trust me, as an old newspaper guy, I know what I'm talking about. And this is cutting edge stuff. With your membership, free t-shirt. Not just one. You get a free t-shirt every year you're a member. And those are valued at $35. So you do the math, you're basically getting a membership for $45. In addition, you get 20% off of additional merchandise. You get 20% off our events, which we're going to be having, stadium takeovers, watch parties, even some travel parties. You'll get 20% off of those. So go to go to alldls.com/join-diehard to become a diehard member today. And while you're at it, go to store.allcitynetwork.com. Check out our sweet collection of merch. I have 4 shirts on the way. 3 from the Rangers side of things, and then the 1 TCU shirt that is pretty badass, I have to say. They apparently shipped this week. They're in the mail, so we're looking forward to receiving those. If I have it by next week's show, I will definitely wear it and model it, and you guys will be jealous and want to get one. So I'm screwing this up. Store.allcitynetwork.com to get your merch today. All right, coming up, our good friend Jamie Plunkett from 247 Sports. There he is. He's even wearing the merch. See, they've got merch. And he's got the Frogs Insider podcast also, which is a must listen with our good friend Melissa. So, Jamie, have you recovered from Saturday?
What happened on Saturday, Jeff?
Okay, he did. All right. Must have sniffed some good glue or something.
Yeah, some hard stuff, some heavy stuff this week. But yeah, that was tough. That was a tough little loss that TCU suffered over there in Dallas. Not used to having the ponies whip up on them like that.
Yeah, Jamie, when TCU lost in the national title game, we finished up our work and we had to drive across town because we were flying out of Ontario the next day. And that was a long drive. I remember that being a long drive. Definitely shorter distance-wise than Dallas to Fort Worth, but yesterday or Saturday must have been a long drive.
It was quite long. I finished up my work at that stadium that feels, even with the new addition, so much like a high school gym. And got back to Fort Worth. Melissa, my podcast co-host, and I went to the good old pub for a little bit and had a couple of drinks to decompress. We watched BYU absolutely thrash Kansas State, and just kind of try to process what happened in that game, because really, I think, Jeff, you saw one team come into that game ready to play and one team that seemed like they just didn't want to be there. And we know which team won and which team lost. Yeah.
And then I was at my daughter's softball game, the Smashing Sweethearts. They won in extra innings, 9 to 8 or 10 to 9, whatever it was. I lost track because I was watching on game day or whatever gamecaster thing, the Frogs, and all of a sudden it was 17-0. I was like, what's going on here? So it had to be stunning, and then I think that's where you kind of wonder, what is your team made of? What kind of resilience do they have? What kind of character do they have? And it seemed like for most of the rest of the half, the Frogs showed a little character, and then it just fell apart.
Yeah, on the offensive side of the football, I would agree with you. I think, SMU did a really good job of taking advantage of the mistakes that TCU made. The fumble that Hoover had going for it on 4th and 1, which triple option, first time you've run that all year, choosing to do that 4th and 1 at the 50 is a choice for sure. Hoover fumbles, SMU takes it back for a touchdown. Yeah. The punt return touchdown, where if you go back and you watch that one, Jeff, more execution issues there. No TCU defender on punt coverage was on the left side of the left hash.
Oh boy.
Where did SMU return that punt? Down the left sideline. So some execution issues. TCU clearly was not prepared for this football game. SMU did a good job of taking advantage of some of those mistakes. But you're right. I think offensively, Josh Hoover and this offense did everything that they could to try and stay in the football game, especially when you're down 17-0. The drive that they had after they were down 17-0 to come back and score a touchdown. Jack Besh makes a big play on 4th and 2 to keep the drive going. You get the ball in the end zone there, a little bit more momentum, get another touchdown. All of a sudden you're down 3, but really defensively, they just had no answer for this SMU running game, which you would have thought they would have made some adjustments after the way they lost that UCF game. And now they've got a Kansas team coming up with another running quarterback, a veteran running back in Devin Neal. They got to figure this out here pretty quickly, or things are going to start to slide.
Yeah, I wonder if they tried to address things that UCF had success with, and we know the relationship between Gus Malzahn and Rhett Lashie, but I wonder if SMU did anything different to kind of counter anticipated changes. But I wonder if this is you can't change this overnight. So what do you think you do? Do you just pull out all stops and 8 men in the box, that type of thing, and make Kansas throw?
Well, it's a good question. And Rhett Lashie mentioned in his post-game conference after the game on Saturday that he was really surprised TCU didn't make any in-game adjustments. They never loaded the box. They never brought the safeties down to try and stop the run. He mentioned it 2 or 3 times that he was a little surprised TCU didn't do that. And I went back and watched the film, and he was right. I think TCU had more than 7 guys in the box just once in the first half of that football game, and it was on a 4th and 1 that SMU ended up converting. So you've got to do something different than the 3 down linemen and 5 guys in the box, because if you don't, you're either just ignoring the issue, don't know how to solve the issue. But either way, it's not acceptable for TCU, and Kansas is going to continue to run the football. They've got to bring more guys in that box, make Jalen Daniels throw the football. He's struggled doing that this year. He threw a couple picks in that West Virginia game. He threw a couple picks in the UNLV game. Kansas has a penchant to turn the ball over when you make them put it in the air. And if TCU doesn't do that on Saturday, I don't really know what the game plan was from the start.
There you go. I think the Andre Ware Houston Cougars would be running the ball every play if they were to play TCU right now. I mean, I just, it would be bad coaching if you didn't run. I don't think you're going to see Kansas come out in 5 wide. I think Sonny Dykes even said the other day, yesterday, they run it 68% of the time. He expects them to run it 80% of the time. A lot of times they run on 3rd and long just to set up 4th and short. So just a whole new set of headaches, it looks like, from the running game that Kansas is going to offer. But the good news, which Sonny said, is that it wasn't a conference game. It was not a Big 12 conference game. And right now, the Big 12 is kind of all over the place. People call it parity. Okay. Maybe teams are getting good players in after they've flamed out somewhere else or didn't like their playing time at maybe a higher profile university. But I don't know. I also think that the transfers are part of the problem. I think that if you have a team that stays together, look at BYU. All right, you go to BYU to go to BYU, right? I mean, in most cases, those kids are LDS affiliated, and they want to be at BYU. And so I think you're seeing BYU continuity kind of playing out here early on. I mean, they beat SMU, and then they just had a great win over Kansas State. What are your thoughts as you look at the conference?
I think that's an interesting point about continuity, because I think it does have an impact. And you're asking questions too. I mean, the team that BYU just beat, Kansas State, they've got a younger quarterback in there, but their former quarterback is at Ohio State right now, and they're the number 3 team in the country. So how much is this turnover really impacting programs all across the country? I think from a Big 12 perspective, though, it's set to be a really fun year in the league. Everybody kind of expected Utah to be the front runner. They still, in my opinion, are the front runner after they beat Oklahoma State this weekend, without Cam Rising. Right. You have Isaac Wilson, a freshman backup quarterback, younger brother of NFL quarterback Zach Wilson, by the way.
Oh, all right.
Fun fact. So they go in to Stillwater, their first Big 12 game, and they take care of business with a young quarterback on the road in a relatively hostile environment. I think that was an impressive win. You've got a Kansas team that we've already talked about that's 1-3. They're desperate. I thought they were going to be one of the better teams in the country this year. And you mentioned Sonny's press conference earlier this week. He talked about how close their losses have been. They could easily be 3-1, 4-2 on the season as well. And then you've got, just some other teams out here blowing games late, right? Baylor holding on to a lead at Colorado before Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter worked some of their magic to come away with that win, which was just a ridiculous football game. I think it is parity. I think it is wide open in this league right now. And I think that should give TCU fans some hope. You're right in that the SMU game isn't a conference loss. Doesn't make it a good loss by any stretch of the imagination, but I think there is still some hope if TCU can get it turned around this weekend against Kansas, take care of business against an awful Houston team the next week to get into your bye week and just kind of see how things go from there. You're 4-2 at that point in the midpoint of the season, and you've set yourself up at least to have a chance.
Yeah,
and
sure.
We'll see. We'll see after that.
Yeah, I was watching the Baylor game because, of course, my parents went to Colorado, and I dislike Baylor, and my friends who still live in Colorado were watching it. And we were texting about it. I mean, that was awful. And the thing is, they called a timeout before the last play. They called a timeout. I mean, Tanner? What are they saying? What are they saying in there? I mean, okay, whatever you do, try to get locked up one-on-one. I mean, what's the conversation like, for crying out loud? And Dave Aranda, who's supposed to be, he's this very thoughtful guy, and they had the success a couple of years ago, and my gosh, that ship is leaving the dock quick.
Did you hear after the game what Dave Aranda said that coverage was called?
No. Victory
cigar.
Oh no.
That is something I would have taken to my grave if I was Dave Aranda. There's a 0% chance I'm saying those words out loud in that post game. But apparently that coverage, that prevent defense is called Victory Cigar.
Well, somebody doesn't smoke apparently back there. I don't know what the deal is, or maybe. Well, I was going to make a President Clinton joke, but we don't need to go there. But yeah, I think Utah, if Cam Rising gets healthy, it seems like they're the class of the group. But I just don't know that anymore with college football. Like, Notre Dame, Nana's old school. They lost to Northern Illinois, for crying out loud. Then they come back and rout Purdue, and then they don't play real well early on against Miami, Ohio. I don't have a feel for college football this year. Although I do think Alabama Georgia is going to be a fabulous game.
Oh, it's going to be a great football game. I think Alabama's going to win it also. But I think going back to what you were talking about transfer portal and continuity, I think that has a lot to do with it. I think when you have guys like Matt Sluka at UNLV decide,
hey, I was going to ask you about
I'm going
this
to take
guy.
my red shirt year because you guys haven't paid me what you said you were going to pay me. It's just all the chaos that comes with the sport these days definitely throws a wrench in actually performing on the field. We had a chance to talk to Dana Holgerson earlier this year before the season started because he's an analyst at TCU this year. And he got into all of the extra stuff that head coaches have to do now and programs have to do now just to get players on campus, keep players happy, do all, X, Y, and Z. And he's like, some of us just want to be football coaches. Like, we got into this to coach football, and the job is becoming less and less about that. And I wonder if not only for head coaches, but for coordinators and position coaches as well, the entire job is becoming less about coaching football and more about all of the off the field stuff. If there's a way that the league can start to settle that down and get some regulations and have contracts, be written down and those kinds of things, wild ideas, I know, maybe we can get back to a time where, hey, you can go and coach football and you can go as a player and play football. Yeah. And maybe we'll start to see some results from that at some point.
Yeah, I liked your idea of binding contracts. I mean, if these guys, they all everybody thinks they're going to the NFL. Your contract's pretty damn binding in the NFL. They're the ones with the power. So get them if the goal is to get them ready for the next level, then do that. I like that idea, Jamie. And that is it Sluka or Sluka?
Sluka, the old Holy Cross quarterback.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I'm guessing his team's. If it was Sluka, they probably are thinking of a word that rhymes with that to describe him. But anyway, Jamie, we're out of time. thank you once again. You're a regular now. What's going on the Frogs Insider podcast this week?
Oh, we got a great Kansas preview. Melissa's interviewing the beat writer from the Kansas City Star, so we'll have that going. And then I sat down with one of the D1 baseball guys, Kendall Rogers, to talk a little fall baseball, talk about how NIL and all this stuff is impacting that sport because it is such a unique sport at the college level, and then give the outlook for TCU baseball in 2025.
All right. Well, that's Jamie Plunkett, guys, from 247 Sports. Check him out. He's Frog Preacher on Twitter, and he's going to be on the show again next week, aren't you? Aren't you, Jamie?
I'm here for the long run at this point.
Every week, Jamie Plunkett from 247 Sports. All right, guys. Jamie, we'll see you then. Group, that's another one in the books. Episode number 3. Can't believe it's been 3 already. I think they keep getting better. Our thanks to Ben Rebstock, my boss. Hope he gives me a raise. To Nana Osafa Mensa. Gosh, what a great kid. Dadgummit. I want him to come on the show again. And Jamie Plunkett, like we just said, we'll be back. So we'll see you next Wednesday on the All Horned Frogs podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.